Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Walleye Tank Ice Fishing Edition 2020. I think it's safe to say that each and every one of us are looking forward to the end of the 67th month of 2020. So on behalf of your hosts, the Mayo Clinic Office of Entrepreneurship and the University of Minnesota's Technology Commercialization Office, we are so grateful that you're all here joining us for an afternoon of ice fishing. Just as a quick point of housekeeping, I'd like to remind all of our speakers, that's our judges, our pitching teams, our other presenters here today, to keep their cameras and microphones off while we're in the on-stage mode, as they are now, until we're asked to turn them on. So for those of you new to the Walleye Tank, since its inception years ago as Minnesota's homegrown pitch competition for life-saving startups, our goal has always been to celebrate the stories of up and coming innovators across the whole life cycle of a startup company. Today, you'll be hearing from teams in the early stages of their journey, the junior anglers, teams who are moving on to the clinical prototypes and beginning to raise capital, our mid-level reelers, and those teams who are moving into the clinical development phases of their company, some of whom have secured funding, some of whom have brought in revenue. These are considered our professional teams. They will be judged by our illustrious walleyes, a fierce group of life science, healthcare, health tech, and business development experts as they enter the tank. Our first two divisions will have 2 minutes to pitch their stories, followed by 3 minutes of questions from the walleyes. And our professional teams will have 4 minutes to dig more deeply into their business and its story. Of course, none of this would be possible without the fantastic support of our sponsors, including the Medical Alley Association and the Department of Employment and Economic Development's Launch Minnesota program. I think I see Frank here in the audience, and so I'd like you to come up here on stage, Frank. Go ahead and turn on your camera and mic to say a few words about the Medical Alley Association. Frank's been a long supporter of our program, and I'm looking forward to what 2021 will bring for healthcare and development in Minnesota. Take it away, Frank.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I wish I was actually ice fishing and hope to get to do that soon enough. We have such a fantastic group of companies presenting today that really show how Medical Alley in Minnesota, it truly is the global epicenter of health innovation and care. I want to say a thank you to the University of Minnesota and Mayo Clinic, who have done such a great job in catalyzing this event and getting it off the ground. And I want to say thanks to all of the entrepreneurs who take their time to present here and to work so hard to deliver life-saving and life-improving products. Please know, if you are a startup or a large company in the healthcare space and you need help, you need connections, you need information, you need resources to advance your business, please put the Medical Alley Association to work. Again, thank you for having me, and good luck to all the anglers today. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. I'd like to welcome Neela Molgard from Launch Minnesota to the stage as well. Please go ahead and turn on your camera and mic, Neela, to tell us a little bit about the statewide initiatives going on to support our startups and our startup ecosystem.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you to Mayo Clinic and the University of Minnesota Medical Alley for your continued leadership and for hosting this incredible event. And of course, thanks to the Minnesota innovators stepping up to conquer life-saving advancements in healthcare and medical technology. It's now more important than ever to seek new solutions to improve health outcomes. This event is a perfect example of Minnesota's strong startup community. Multiple public and private organizations from different cities coming together to remove barriers for startups, spotlight our innovators to help scale new technologies. Minnesota has a long history of being a place where good ideas begin and grow. This holds true today. We recently learned Minnesota moved from 4th to 1st nationally in our 5-year survival rate, and Minneapolis-St. Paul ranked #1 for best places for women entrepreneurs. Our state leaders know that the growth of new businesses and startups are vital for Minnesota's economy. Launch Minnesota is creating an environment to support entrepreneurs and nurture tech startups. We recently celebrated our 1st year and proud of the traction We awarded over $2 million to over 75 unique startups, incentivized over $40 million in private investment through tax credit. So those that have not taken advantage of this, there are still dollars left in our second fiscal year, and you can register now for the 2021 $10 million angel tax credit. Second, we connected Minnesota corner to corner by developing a first of its kind hub and spoke model, bringing 6 regions, 7 hubs, and over 60 program partners together. The E1 Collaborative in Southeast is joined by the Collider and DMC Ready and SBDC, all located in Rochester, working with others to support entrepreneurs. And third, we worked with our partners across the state to increase entrepreneurial talent and resources. Entrepreneurs, you should know you are not alone in this journey. Launch Minnesota and organizations hosting today want to see you succeed and are here to support you. Best of luck to those presenting today. I look forward to your continued progress and growth. Stefan, back to you.
Thanks, Neela. Thank you, Neela. Thank you, Frank, Medical Alley, and Launch Minnesota for your continued support. Just a few last-minute pieces of housekeeping for everybody in the audience. Please go ahead and use the Q&A up in the top right-hand corner to add questions or vote on any questions that you'd like to suggest to the Walleyes today. The questions in this event are going to be posed only by the Walleyes, but I encourage you to connect with the pitching teams during the networking session preceding the pitches at the end of this event. Lastly, if you're having any issues with your sound, connectivity, or camera, please click the Need Help button down at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and Remo support will assist you. So with that, we're on to the main event, and I'd like to invite the moderator of our Junior Anglers Division, my co-host and friend from the University of Minnesota, Mary McCarthy. Mary, they're all yours. Take it away.
Sorry. I work at the University of Minnesota in technology commercialization, where we launch 19 startups roughly per year. And 75% of them are still around today. I'm really excited to introduce the junior anglers. But first, we've got our judges, an esteemed panel. And I'd like the judges to please turn on their microphones and their cameras to just say hi. First, we've got Tim Eyre with Integrated Project Management. Tim is returning as a judge. He's a director of operations and has over 20 years of experience supporting development in the medical device industry. Next, we've got Patrick with Mayo Clinic. Patrick is a health knowledge specialist at Mayo Clinic with a background in application development and health informatics. Third, we've got Quinn Wolford from Epic. Quinn joins us as an implementation director and works closely with large hospital systems like Mayo Clinic and the University of Minnesota as we get set up an Epic award-winning system. Lastly, or second to last, Brian Clark. Brian is a veteran judge with the Walleye Tank and a senior manager in corporate research at Boston Scientific. He has a rich background in innovating and commercializing technology in the medical device industry. Then lastly, we've got Marlon Cush from UHG, a senior associate general counsel in United Healthcare, and is passionate about the growth of new and early stage healthcare companies. We're looking forward to seeing what questions you've got for the teams. Walleyes, go ahead and make sure your cameras and mics are now off. All right, awesome. So our very first team up today is Glimpse Diagnostic, presented by Dr. Courtney Hill. Courtney, go ahead and share your screen and slides and turn your mic and camera on. A quick reminder, IV Protect, you're up next, so be prepared. Dr. Hill is a pediatric otolaryngologist and ENT specialist who has developed an exciting new technology for parents and their children to use at home. Courtney, the timer will begin when you're ready. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. The most common reasons children go to the doctor is for ear infections. The trouble is that pediatricians are correct about half of the time with their ear diagnosis. Just want to make sure. Okay. Pardon me. There we go. I'm a pediatric ENT, as you heard, and deeply understand how difficult it can be to interpret the ear exam. I also understand what the families go through. Let me show you the typical patient scenario. Meet Sarah and Ollie. Sarah is a working mom, and Ollie had his first ear infection after starting daycare last year. She had to juggle missing work in order to take him to the doctor. Once he started to get a runny nose again this fall, she bought an eardrum camera or an otoscope for her phone. Just a few weeks into the ear infection season, she woke up to Ollie crying and tugging at his ears. Before, she would have stayed up all night trying to comfort him and wondering how she could afford to miss work the next day. Instead, she breathed a sigh of relief. She had another option. She gathered her phone and the otoscope and went into Ollie's room. She connected everything together, and while she held him close to her chest, she gently put the tip in his ear. Soon enough, she saw on the screen the picture that was taken by the app and the diagnosis that our algorithm gave her. He did have an ear infection, and she could tap to connect to telemedicine in order to get an antibiotic. She started him on the antibiotic that night, and by the next morning, he was already feeling better. Working moms like Sarah are the initial target market. With a combination of software, hardware, and a disposable, the total addressable market is over $1 billion. Now is the time. COVID has really pushed us in a lot of ways, but one thing's for sure, telemedicine is much more accepted. AI diagnostics is picking up steam, but yet there's no algorithm approved by the FDA as of yet to diagnose ear infections, and this is what we're doing through the de novo process. Our team is set up for success. Dr. Carlson demonstrated technical feasibility with his AI methodology and showed 83% accuracy. Dr. Alpert created the de novo pathway while she was at the FDA. We envision a future where moms like Sarah can get immediate, high-quality care for their child at any time from home. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. All right, I'd like to call the 5 judges to turn their cameras and mics on and ask Courtney some questions. You did a great job, Courtney. Proud of you. Patrick, Tim,
Yeah.
Ellen,
May
Brian,
I ask my?
so which of you has questions for Courtney?
So Courtney, I've got a
If I may. Courtney, great presentation. I think it's a really fascinating idea and an interesting solution. I have seen things somewhat like that before, or seen the pitches, and while you were speaking, I did a kind of just a quick Google search, and I see devices available from Welsh Allen and something that costs about a little over $100, and something else just on Amazon that a little more consumer friendly, maybe about $40. So from the hardware side, it looks like it in some iterations exist. So how do you differentiate yourself from those existing solutions?
So the existing solutions are simply the hardware. You have to know how to use it in order to see the eardrum and then know what you're looking at. So for parents to use it at home, maybe they can get a picture to send in to their doctor. But there was a study, actually, it was on the CellScope otoscope, which showed that parents could get an adequate picture that the doctor could make any sense of only about half the time. But then you have to figure that they're sending the picture to a doctor whose statistics aren't great either. So the main differentiator is that with a combination of being able to get the photo with a tip that really guides the parents so it's foolproof for them. With that combination and really highly accurate diagnosis, the children will get hopefully better quality care in the long term.
Okay, thank you.
What's the regulatory pathway that you have to go through, and how long and expensive is it?
That's a great question. So the pathway is de novo. Like I said, Dr. Alpert is the one who created that, and she's taking us through that. We're in the first rounds of discussions with the FDA about what they want to see before the clinical trial, and they've deemed that a sorry, I can't think of the word right away, but we don't have to have any special IDE for it. And then once the de novo submission is done, I believe it's 150 days. And the pricing for that, I believe, is in the 20,000s, but I would have to double check.
Can you speak to your business model and what you think consumers will pay for this, and whether it'd be covered by insurance as well?
For sure. So direct to mom, so direct to consumer, the hardware would be about $45. And then the software use each time is slated to be about $30, which is similar to going to the doctor and paying your copay. It sure could be covered by insurance in the future. And there was one more part of your question I wanted to answer.
We're up on time. That's okay. It is business. That's okay. You've got it.
Yeah. I believe we're out of time. All right. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you.
Let's move on
Nice
to
job, Courtney.
the next presenter, who is, the next team is Ivy Protect, presented by Cara Bragg. Cara, go ahead and share your screen and slides, turn your mic and camera on. And a quick reminder to Cognitivite that you're up next. Cara is joining us from Mayo Clinic, Florida, after winning their initial pitch competition, the Alligator Tank, with their straightforward but immensely important innovation designed to protect some of our most vulnerable patients from themselves. Cara, the timer will start when you're ready. You have 2 minutes.
The opioid crisis and the overdose. We all know about it, but this is how I found my patient dead on the bathroom floor in our ER. She was our second patient to die in 4 months from self-injecting opioids in her IV. So why us? We know this population and our patients are being harmed. We know the problem, but we lack the tools to fix it. Patients access their IV sites and it leads to prolonged hospitalizations, unexplained infections, stress on the hospital staff, and lead to fatal overdoses. The opioid epidemic continues to rage, and it's only exacerbated by COVID-19 and social unrest. The time to act is now. Current solutions include direct observation, which is costly, video surveillance, which we're unable to use outside of the room or in the bathrooms, or tamper detection devices, which don't prevent and can't be used with infusions. So why just detect when you can IV protect? We have the perfect solution. Protection at all access points. It allows infusions while in use, it has a universal customizable lock, a universal hospital key, it's MRI safe and reusable during the patient's stay. There is no comparison. IV Protect checks all the boxes. So there's approximately 150 million emergency department visits a year, with 25 million of those receiving IV opioids. This is our targeted market. We've already filed a provisional patent. We want to license this product and partner with an experienced medical supply manufacturer for production. IV Protect, better outcomes. It prevents self-injection leading to infection and overdose, saves money, continues protection without monitoring, and improves efficiency. It allows infusion therapy while the protective device is in place. Help us keep our vulnerable patients safe. Thank you.
Great job. All right, I'd like to invite the judges, the esteemed panel, to join me up here on stage and to ask a few questions for 3 minutes.
Hi, Cara. This is Marlon. Could you talk a little bit more about your market for this particular product and who you'll be focusing on?
Yes, initially I'd like to focus on the emergency department. That's an area that I'm experienced in and it's a market I know well. Just based on our current evaluation, in Florida alone last year, we saw almost 35,000 patients, and that's approximately 9,000 that would be benefiting from this IV lock there. Taking the 3 Mayo sites together, that's about 154,000 patients with 39,000 that would be marketable for this IV Protect device. That's our initial market, but we definitely see areas where we can expand, where it's in hospital use and also with home health providers.
Jared, can you describe a little bit about the lock system on there? It seems like it's got a key, and you said it's a universal key?
Yes. We spent quite a bit of time. We have a universal locking device, but it can have up to 35 separate keys for this device. It works much like a TSA lock, where the key actually customizes our lock system, and that allows one hospital to have one key system throughout the entire hospital. We have the keys RFID chipped, so they're locatable for in the hospital, and everybody in that hospital would be able to access that individual lock, but anybody outside the institution would not be able to access it.
Is there a system? So you said the were locatable. Is there a system that identifies if a patient gets a hold of one of those keys?
Yes, they would all be traceable within the hospital system, and the keys are actually checked. Our intention is to have them checked out of the Pyxis, much in the same way that our pain pumps have worked for decades with the nurses, where they check the key out to access the pain pumps. We would have it in a similar situation, and also have keys accessible in our code carts and with the team leaders on every floor.
Oh, thank you.
Interesting presentation. I was curious if you could clarify a little bit about where you are in terms of a pilot.
So we have everything done up to the 3D printing. We've done some discussions with our colleagues, including nurses and other providers. Right now, we have a couple of grant applications pending. We're at the point where we need the funding to make the provisional molds for a true prototype that we can go and test in our sim lab.
Can you speak a little bit to any validation you've done with other hospital systems, and in particular, what are people willing to pay for something like this?
Yeah, we've talked to several different groups. We actually have contacts throughout town. Nobody has a device like this. We can't find anything like it on the market. Once we are able to get our original molds done, this should be a very low cost. We're thinking most likely in the setup of what the initial INT hub would cost for the hospitals. And our goal is to get this, with it being a safety metric, that it would be a sanctioned reimbursable device by the insurance companies.
Okay, we are out of time for questions. Thank you very much, Cara. Great job again. And judges, you can turn your microphone and camera off. And I would like to introduce the next pitching team, which is Cognivite, presented by Daniel Fleury. Daniel, go ahead and share your screen and slides and turn your mic and camera on. Quick reminder to Sarkio Technologies that you're up next. Daniel is a Rochester native attending his first year at Johns Hopkins School of Engineering remotely, but is no stranger to innovation and entrepreneurship. A skilled data scientist and researcher on his own right, we're looking forward to hearing more about your venture, Cognivite. The timer will start when you're ready.
Hi everyone, I'm representing Cognivite today. Let me get my screen up. I'm Zandy. I am Dan's co-founder. You guys can see that, right? Let me do this. All right, so hi everyone, I'm Zandy, a freshman at Johns Hopkins, and I'm part of Dan's team at Cognivite. And we are revolutionizing mental health by using AI and human assistance to create 4 chatbots that can diagnose and treat 9 mental health illnesses. The problem that we face today is that, especially during COVID, mental health is a big issue. Over 450 million people suffer from mental health illnesses, and that causes 16 trillion to be lost in productivity by 2030, which is calculated by Reuters. And then the issue that we face today with mental health wellness is that there's mental health stigma. People are either afraid to talk about mental health, or just the resources aren't there in general. We don't have a one-stop hub for mental health access. So that's where Cognivite comes in. We've created these chatbot apps and we created this hub of resources. We use advanced language modeling and tokenization and the BERT algorithm from Google to use human counselors and this our chatbot algorithm to create a system that can diagnose and treat over 9 mental health illnesses. And our resources are available on iOS, Google Assistant, Google Home, and Android. And so yeah, here's some other resources. And then we've also breaked into Amazon Alexa and offer cognitive behavioral therapy that way. And we're looking to get into Google Assistant as well. And I think that's it for me. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry, we didn't know that that you were pitching instead. So happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see the judges coming back up. A couple more to join. Lovely. Okay, who has a couple questions for Zandy for the next 3 minutes?
Hey, thanks so much, Andy. That was really good. How are you addressing any patient privacy concerns that folks might have around apps?
Yeah, so that's the big thing that we put into our app. All the data is anonymized until it gets to connecting with a human counselor. So, for example, we have like a anonymous whale for like one of the usernames as the user logs in, and the user is able just to communicate freely without worrying about being judged, and that's a really big part of our system.
Have you run pilots with your solution already in patients? And if so, I'm curious to hear what the experience has been.
We've done some beta testing so far. We've had pretty good success with that. And then we've also connected with local schools, I think in St. Thomas College in Minnesota and some other colleges in Minnesota. And we've talked to Johns Hopkins and their big system as well. And we've connected with those schools as well.
So Zandy, you're using Chatbox. I'd be curious to understand kind of what's the clinician support that you have behind the scenes.
So we're just getting started out. So the plan is to to use mental health line counselors, psychologists, and we would have to figure that out, which we're still in the beginning stages of figuring that out, of how to run that. But basically, the chatbot like initiates a conversation, or the patient initiates a conversation, then it can to a human counselor, and the human counselor can take over from there. So it's kind of streamlining the process and using AI and human support to have this support system that is streamlined.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you speak a little bit to the business model and what you believe you can get paid for the solution?
So the business model, we have 2 markets that we're planning to try to get into. The first market, institutional. I think a big issue for institutional is that at the school level and the workplace level, there's like not a one-stop hub for that. So Cognitiva can create these chatbot apps for individual schools and individual companies, and we would be planning to charge around, I think, $2,000 per year for that because it takes a bit to maintain it. And then the other one would be for the individual person level, and compared to BetterHelp, our cost would probably be about $150 per month for access.
Okay, I believe that we're out of time for questions. Thank you very much, judges. You can turn your cameras off and microphones off. Thank you, Zandy. Hope to see you in the future. Okay, next we've got Sarkio, or it might be Sarcio. I'm sure Beth will correct me, which is our final team in this division. And Beth, you can go ahead and share your screen and slides and turn on your mic and camera. I'm very excited for my friend Beth to share her story and progress that they've made with this groundbreaking technology. Beth, you've got 2 minutes, so please begin whenever you're ready. Hey, Beth, we can't see you. Turn your camera on. Ah, beautiful. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. Thanks.
Okay. Can you see that or no?
Yes, we can see you.
Can you see the presentation?
We could, now we cannot. Again. Okay, I think you're good to go now.
Okay. All right, my name is Beth Lindborg, and I'm the CEO of Sarkio Technologies. So Sarkio means repair and restore in Latin, and that's why we chose the name of our company, because our vision is to repair and restore a patient's cartilage using our stem cell technology. So osteoarthritis occurs when the hyaline cartilage protecting your joint degenerates and wears down over time. It affects 32 million. Yep.
Put it into presentation. It's really hard to say the words.
So, okay. So I feel like every time I put it in presentation mode, I lose you. So I'm going to try again.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yep, I can see you and your screen.
Can you see, is it a full screen presentation mode?
Yep, full screen.
Okay, thank you so much. Is that all right if I start again? Thank you so much. I appreciate your patience. My name is Beth Lindborg, and I'm the CEO of Sarkio. We chose the name Sarkio because it means repair and restore in Latin. And our vision is to repair and restore a patient's cartilage using our stem cell derived cartilage cells. Osteoarthritis occurs when the hyaline cartilage protecting your joint degenerates and wears down over time. It affects over 32 million Americans. It costs 185 billion US healthcare dollars per year. And this doesn't include things like time off work and potential addictions to opioids after surgeries. So there are 3 million newly diagnosed patients that have osteoarthritis every year. And the severity of this disease causes 1.8 million patients to undergo these viscosupplementation treatments, and they're injections that are aimed to delay joint replacements. And there are over 700,000 knee replacements every year. And we really feel that our market is in between these two treatments, and our goal is to capture these patients before they're in dire need of a joint. So these are the cartilage cells that we've grown in the laboratory. They resemble young, healthy hyaline cartilage, and most importantly, they secrete type 2 collagen. And that's really important for joint function. And like many scientific discoveries, we really discovered this by accident, and we feel a strong obligation to bring it to patients. Our minimum viable product is going to be an easy-to-use, off-the-shelf injectable product. We've developed a team comprised of business, scientific, and medical expertise that are well positioned to bring this product forward. Over the past 2 years, we filed 2 patents, received $300,000 in grant funding, and more recently signed on our Chief Medical Officer, IP, and regulatory consultants. Our benchmarks are really tied to our use of proceeds for our raise that will be starting in January of 2021. Our goal is to begin our first animal studies, lay out our regulatory strategy, and strengthen our IP position. So our $500,000 raise will begin January 1st, and I'm leading the round with $25,000. We have $80,000 in commitment so far, and $55,000 are from insiders. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Great job. Great job. So I'd like to invite the judges back. Our microphone's on.
So Beth, have you actually made contacts with some of your prospective customers to validate that they want your product, and importantly, how to charge them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So far we've engaged our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Mark Tompkins, and he's really the one that's helping us get into contact with other orthopedic surgeons to talk to about this. And we have done a lot of voice of the customer research as well, and have found that there really is a need for this. People are looking for something like this in the market. And I think what's important is if you think about a joint replacement, they only last about 15 to 20 years. And so when you're, 66 years old, 67 years old, and you need a knee replacement, you're going to push it off as long as possible because you don't want to be 80, 90 years old undergoing a second knee replacement. So that really is the a big need in the market. And if you look, I have this, you probably can't see it, competitive, advantage slide where we really are offering a permanent, where our goal is to offer a permanent solution. One of these items here, PRP injections, right now, those are on the market. You may have heard of those. And that's actually a cash market right now. And those are going to up to $8,000 an injection for cash. So we would hope to be a reimbursed product that, where we have really good clinical data that shows real efficacy.
Beth, you said the sandwiches between the two treatments. What would be the expected patient benefit? What would they see by having this product?
So our goal is to replace and restore a patient's cartilage and provide them pain relief and proper joint function.
And you said you're looking for this as a permanent, potentially, as you go down the road and to avoid knee replacement?
Yes.
Hate to follow them, but what evidence so far do you have to suggest that might be the possibility?
Right. So right now we have really nice looking hyaline cartilage cells that we're growing in the lab. And our goal is to further develop and de-risk the technology with animal studies.
Thank you.
You emphasized osteoarthritis in your presentation. Can you speak to the applicability to other diagnoses beyond that?
Yeah, I think this has a lot of potential for cartilage injury repair, but since O is the bigger market, that's where we want to start.
Thank you.
Okay, we are out of time for questions. Thanks so much.
Nice job, Beth.
Great, Beth. So judges, you can turn your screen and microphones off, camera and microphones off. And with this Walleye Tank, we have a little twist for you, something different, just like always. And we have invited 3 of the companies, the startups that pitched during the Walleye Tank COVID-19 edition to come back and give us a little bit of an update on how their startup has been doing, what they've been up to, and tell us their journey, the last chapter of their story. So I would like to invite Max. There's Max with Breathe 99. Please give us an update, including how you got on the cover of Time magazine.
By accident. No, thank you, Mary, for the opportunity and for everybody who's tuning in. Yeah, so my name is Max Bach-Aaron, the co-founder and CEO of a local company here in Minneapolis called Breathe 99. And our goal is to make the highest quality respiratory protection or personal protective equipment that's comfortable for life's daily activity. And this is a project that I was working on before COVID. It was born out of my experience studying in Singapore and experiencing air pollution firsthand. And when we participated in the Walleye Tank back in the spring, we had just launched a crowdfunding campaign. And since then, we generated about $750,000 in total in pre-orders through crowdfunding. We built an entire supply chain here in Minnesota. We do have one vendor outside of Chicago, but everybody else, all of our partners are here in Minnesota. And we went from a functioning prototype that the design of which and the filtration we validated at the University of Minnesota. We went from that stage to full production in about 2.5 months, and we've shipped 18,000 or 19,000 masks now, and we were fortunate enough to be selected as one of Time's best inventions of 2020. And so the next steps are really to improve the product by offering additional sizes. We're working on several new technologies to reduce humidity and condensation within the mask to make it more comfortable during extended breathing. And we're also working on some technologies as well that provide some insights to a person's personal health and the possibility of even diagnosing different infectious conditions, but that's a little bit of a ways off still.
Awesome. I'm really excited for you. And I know you had some funding through Venn Foundation too, correct?
Yeah, I'd be remiss not to mention all of this kind of got kickstarted through philanthropic donors and donor advised funds and the incredible contributions of Venn Foundation and Jeff Oakes. And we've been so fortunate to be a part of I'll call it the Minnesota, not just the Twin Cities, but the Minnesota innovation community. And so it's been through those partnerships that we've been able to bring this to market faster. So, all of our partners on the manufacturing side, our molder is in St. Paul. That's MME Group, the group that we're making the fabric overlays with that actually harness the face piece to the face. They're in North Minneapolis. Laurel Design played a critical role in the early sort of development and design of the product as well. And so, yeah, this is really a story of Minnesota companies coming together in order to make high quality protection available to people during what is a pretty distressful year. So just feel very grateful that we've had the opportunity to make this product available for people. And we're excited to improve the product, again, like I said, by offering sizes. That's probably the biggest roadblock for us right now, is we have a size that fits smaller to medium-sized adults. And we want to make sure that we have, our hardware platform accommodates everybody. So
totally makes sense. Well, congratulations again. Keep up the great work, and we look forward to seeing your company grow and continue to do great things.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it.
Yep, you bet. Moving right along. I'm going to throw it over to our next, is it you, Stefan? Great.
Thanks, Mary. As we move into the second division, and again, thank you for all the teams that pitched. Phenomenal job. I'd like to call on my colleague, Dr. Trupti Vardhamkaur from Mayo Clinic in Arizona, to the stage to be the moderator for the mid-level reelers division. I'll ask the Walleyes for the second division to go ahead and turn on your cameras. That's the 5 judges for the mid-level reelers section. Trupti, they're all yours.
Thank you, Stefan. And welcome everyone to the mid-level reelers division of the Walleye Tank. First, I would like to introduce the Walleyes who will be judging these 4 teams. We have Anna Christensen from NextGen Medical Device. Anna Christensen is the strategic marketing manager at NextGen and is passionate problem solver dedicated to accelerating medical device startups. Dr. Motri from Biotechne. Dr. Motri is an accomplished immunologist and is the VP of Corporate Development for the Biotechne Corporation. Then we have Dr. Perry Hackett from University of Minnesota. Dr. Hackett is another Walleye Tank veteran and brings his significant expertise as a leading scientist and entrepreneur in the field of genome engineering. Then we have Revin Miller from Medtronic. Revin Miller is a passionate leader and the director of global marketing for Medtronic's Venus Devices division. Then we have Corinne Lipscomb from 3M. Corinne Lipscomb leads the material informatics effort at 3M Corporate Research and is focused on developing digital solutions to accelerate R&D. Thank you, judges. And could you please go ahead and make sure your mics and cameras are off? So the first team in the mid-level reelers division is OsteoApp.ai, presented by Peter Bianco. Peter, go ahead and share your screen and slides and turn on your camera and mic. A reminder for Rhythm Technologies, you're up next. Peter may not currently be in Minnesota, but he has his sights set on moving back to Rochester to launch OsteoApp.ai. Peter, you will have 2 minutes to pitch, and the timer will start as soon as you are ready. And good luck.
Okay.
Peter, we can't see your slides.
Apologize, I'm having some technical difficulties. Can you see my presentation?
The presentation yet.
Size, it's hard to see the little screen.
Yeah, now we see it. Now if you could put it on presentation mode.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I apologize for that. My name is Peter Bianco, and I'm the CEO of OsteoApp AI, technology developed to detect fragility fracture risk assessment enabled by artificial intelligence. Our market and what we're addressing is the urgent public health crisis in osteoporosis. It's a silent disease that affects millions of people, about 10 million people in the United States. And the incidence of this particular condition is greater than breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke combined for elderly women. The problem in the market right now is that 75% of the people who have osteoporosis or at risk for osteoporosis don't know it, and they don't find out that they have osteoporosis until they fall and break a bone. And in the case of hip fractures, which is the most common, 1 of every 4 people that experience a hip fracture due to osteoporosis usually does not survive it. That particular problem is now a major cost burden on the U.S. health system, with a currently $19 billion a year spend in the current health system, going to $25 billion by 2025. This is an unsustainable growth rate in this cost burden. We are taking a clinically validated FDA-cleared product that's been in use in Europe for some time, and combining it with exclusively licensed artificial intelligence technology licensed from the University of Rochester, and further development through the Mayo platform of our artificial intelligence platforms. We have essentially 2 methodologies by which we use this clinically. In-clinic assessment for a patient that comes in for an X-ray for one reason, and our algorithm, as you can see on the right-hand side, what our product does, can scan that hand X-ray and come back with an osteoporosis score within 30 seconds. This has all been clinically validated in Europe, and we're taking that technology from Europe and reapplying it under a new clinical model in the United States. The other aspect of this is that we are able to take our technology and screen and sort through thousands of existing X-rays that currently exist in a hospital or a clinic setting, and come back with a population health risk assessment for fracture due to osteoporosis within hours. So we have 2 essential pathways. Patient comes through.
Sorry to interrupt, but your time is you're out of time.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
So judges, could you please turn your cameras on and mic on? And you have 3 minutes to ask questions.
Okay. Peter, you made a pretty compelling case that there's a problem, but you didn't have time to get to your business model. Can you very quickly describe the business model that you have?
Yeah, so we have a subscription, software as a service subscription model, which is similar to several other companies that are moving ahead of us in this space in tangential markets, where we would charge a hospital system an annual subscription with a click fee based on the number of images.
Hey, Peter, this is Raven. Great presentation. It seems like a really big opportunity, but there seems to be some barriers to access. So can you speak to why some of these screenings currently are not taking place?
Yeah, the current technology is DEXA, dual absorptry X-ray absorbed geometry. It's a large piece of capital equipment, and it requires a specialized technician to run it. Our technology does not require any capital expense or a specialized expertise to run it. Anywhere an X-ray machine exists or X-ray infrastructure exists, our software will work. And it's installed with a small client behind the firewall in a clinic or hospital setting, and it shoots the X-ray out to our cloud servers to do the analysis, and we send a report back in 30 seconds.
Peter, this is Frank Mortari. Does the marrying of the cleared product with the licensed software require a new trial and getting some regulatory clearance?
No, these are class 2 medical devices, 510K, and we're using the existing technology as the predicate device.
Okay.
Hi, Peter. This is Anna. What actionable items can clinicians or patients take based on these earlier diagnoses?
Well, earlier intervention, and what's happening in the orthopedic space right now is a recognition on the part of orthopedic surgeons that although they don't manage osteoporosis patients specifically, they're in a position to identify and cause a referral for an early intervention. And that's an awareness now that seems to be building in the orthopedic community. So our feeling is that it starts with orthopedic surgeons, yet if they inserting our technology in their care pathway early, they're aware of this patient's condition and can refer them to the appropriate specialist for follow-up.
And can I follow up? Are there some cost advantages over traditional system?
Yeah, so most of the systems that are on the market now are a capital expense. So, and there's ongoing maintenance fees and things like that. This is pure software. So our cost of goods sold are almost zero at this point, besides the development and clinical testing. So it's a very cost-effective model that we can deploy very inexpensively versus the existing technologies.
So thank you, judges, and we'll move on to the next team. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So next up, we'll hear from Rhythm Technologies presented by Anand Padmanabhan. Please go ahead and, oh, sorry. Dr. Padmanabhan is a recent addition to Mayo Clinic and brings with him a wealth of entrepreneurial experience, and we'll hear more about his company formed before joining Mayo Clinic. We are very excited to see what new developments he will bring in his time here. Dr. Padmanabhan, the two-minute timer will begin when you are ready.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the Walleye Tank for allowing me the opportunity to discuss a startup that I co-founded called Rhythm Technologies. Rhythm in my native language of Tamil means blood. The problem that I study is a condition called heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. All of you may have heard of heparin, a very commonly used anticoagulant that's given to millions of patients every year. The problem is a subset of treated patients develop signs and symptoms of this severe reaction to heparin called HIT. In some cases, there are clots that form, and in many of the patients who clot, they have dangerous or adverse outcomes such as strokes, cardiac events, and amputations. The diagnosis of HIT is highly complex. It involves two different steps. The first step is a simple assay, an ELISA assay that's done in the hospital, but the problem with this assay is that it is very high false positives, such that for every 10 positive results, 5 are falsely positive. And so often a second assay is sent out to one of 5 reference labs in the United States that are much more expensive, and results coming back in about a week. The problem in the interim for physicians like me is to struggle with how to treat the patient. There are problems if we ignore HIT, and there are problems if we assume that someone's got HIT when they do not have. And this is a problem that has been well recognized by hematologists and transfusion medicine practitioners for some decades. More recently, based on some basic science work in my lab, we made the discovery that if we add a simple protein that can be made in large amounts called PF4 to platelets that Rhythm has stabilized using proprietary techniques and add a blood sample, this reaction will cause a positive or negative result using a couple of different platforms that we're considering.
The first is an LFA, or a lateral flow assay, which the most common LFA you may be familiar with is a urine pregnancy stick. You add a sample and you get a result. The second one, which is a little bit more hands-on, but this technology being much more accurate, is an ELISA assay, which would take 2 to 3 hours. Now, why do we need to solve this problem now? It is because more than 5 patients die every day. I'm sorry, am I out of time?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that, but I'll
It's a
stop.
very exciting technology.
Yeah.
So judges, could I request you to turn on your camera and mics?
Maybe I'll start and ask, would you care to finish your pitch describing the technology, the solution?
Sure. So I just have, I think, this slide and that, and one other one. So the cost of hit or high, more than 5 patients dead every day, $80,000 versus 20, and a lot of liabilities to hospitals. I've provided an example here. We have a team of individuals. We have a part-time CEO on the left. I serve as Chief Science Officer. A co-inventor is the Director of R&D, and we recently hired in the Patent Council. Our technology that I showed you in a previous slide is patented with 2 issued patents in the United States, 1 in Japan. Patents are pending in the EU and Canada, and we've published peer-reviewed data in a number of top-tier journals, including Blood and Chest. So at this point where we are, our development of this prototype that I've pictured down on the bottom left of the slide, we've just completed a seed round of about $300,000 from accredited in-state investors in Wisconsin, which is where I am from. That's where I joined the Mayo Clinic recently, as mentioned by the host. And we're really hoping that I could get connected with the startup community here in Minnesota, because in about a 6 months or a 1-year period, we'll likely be wanting to go in for a Series A, hiring a full-time CEO, et cetera, to move this product forward.
Sure. I guess I'm surprised at the high level of false results that you're getting. I'm assuming that's a PF4 ELISA. I guess I don't fully understand that. But the concern is that the LFA is going to probably be less precise than a traditional ELISA. Do you know the levels of PF4 in these patients? Are they relatively high, or are we trying to detect really low levels?
So the levels of PF4 we've tested in many patients does not appear to be the issue. It's the PF4 binding to substances on the patient's platelet surface that appears to cause pathology. So we, for example, just published a paper in Blood showing that the false positive rate of the ELISA is 50%. So the PPV, the positive predictive value, is about 50%. And in the same study, we used this technology using PF4 platelets in a sample, and appears far superior. We have not created the LFA prototype, however, so the concerns you raised, we will have to empirically test that. But we have tested it in the ELISA format, and it appears, based on a sample size of about 50 patients, select patients that sort of stress the system, that the accuracy appears to be 100%.
How many kits would you presume you'd be selling in a year, and then in about 5 years?
Sure. The total available market, we have accurate estimates in the United States. We expect this to replace the ELISA market, or compete, I should say, with the ELISA market. It's 1 million tests in the US. Our estimates outside the US are somewhat limited. We estimate about 300,000 in Europe, and we're not sure about other areas. We did a lot of discussion regarding sort of pricing, and we sort of, what we ended up, again, these are rough ranges based on our discussions with people who have more expertise than us. We believe the LFA, given its ease of use, could possibly be sold even at maybe $150 a test. Given that currently there's significant expense involved with the 2-step approach. In fact, one of the previous institutions that I was part of, we generated very high significant revenue with the test number 2 listed here, because there are so few labs that actually are able to perform this test.
So thank you, judges, and thank you, Dr. Padmanabhan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We move on to the next team. So next we will welcome Grip Molecular presented by Edward Gillen. Edward, please turn on your camera and mic and go ahead and share your screen and slides. Reminder to Blue Cube Bio that you are up next. In a world newly obsessed with medical rapid testing, Grip Molecular is an exciting new prospect. With their success in the G-Beta MedTech program, we are excited to see their progress. The 2-minute timer will begin whenever you are ready.
Great, thank you very much. Nice to have this opportunity. My name is Ed Gillen. I'm the CEO of Grip Molecular. We're intent on transforming medical diagnostics. I think I can say safely that all of us have experienced to some degree the current state-of-the-art medical diagnostic processes and the difficulties associated with that. And in summary, it's too difficult to provide samples to be tested, and it takes too long to get a result. The reason that we as a global community have been struggling with medical diagnostics is that all of the technologies today are chemistry-based and require a trade-off between accuracy and speed. We're taking a completely different approach. We're using solid-state electronics, which give us the ability to provide highly accurate results in literally minutes and offers them at the point of need. The product is, as you see pictured here, the way that it would work in a home environment, for example, is that you would procure the device at a retail pharmacy for about $40. You would load an app onto a cell phone or any other medical device. And when that device is brought into proximity with the cell phone, it would display the results on the app. It provides a very easy to use, very fast result for multiple diseases, and simultaneously also provides the opportunity to assess the host response to those same diseases. It obviously facilitates telehealth interaction as well. We intend to provide this diagnostic information in the home, in elder care clinics, in retail pharmacy, and in hospitals and clinics as well. The first product on the technology will be an upper respiratory infection panel. There are 90 million people that need this test on an annual basis in developed world markets. If you multiply that by the $40 I mentioned earlier, it amounts to a $3.6 billion annual revenue generation opportunity. We've demonstrated proof of concept. We have issued patents. Development is underway in our labs, and we anticipate launch in 2023. We are currently raising funds via a convertible note and have made great progress in raising those funds. We're using them to validate the sensor performance, and we do have interest in our Series A round. And with that, I'll stop.
Thank you, Edward. Judges, could I invite you to... Thank you.
Can I ask just a clarification? Is this a detection of proteins or nucleic acid, and is there any amplification steps?
So it's the detection of both simultaneously, and there is no amplification that's required. It's direct detection.
Okay.
So from a commercial model, why did you all decide to go direct as opposed to maybe thinking about licensing with multiple companies?
The challenge with licensing to companies is that as soon as you license the technology to one company, then that creates challenges to license that same technology to others. So we think that that would dramatically limit the application of the technology. We would be open to licensing the technology for certain fields to certain companies. That might be an option. But you also probably can appreciate that it also limits your exit opportunities, right? Because a company that wants to buy this, for example, would probably want to buy it all and not have it encumbered with other licenses to potential other competitors. So those are some of the reasons that we're not planning to take that course.
Thanks, Edward. This is Anna. I'm curious, the next pandemic, does this enable faster development of new tests for different viruses? And can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the biosensor can be very, very rapidly modified to detect new pathogens. So we estimate that from the time for example, the nucleic acid sequence was determined 8 weeks later, we could be producing a product to detect that particular pathogen at high volume and at low cost. That would be particularly interesting, we think, also for influenza strains, right? So when you have the shift and drift phenomenon, we would be able to detect those specific strains and modify the device to do so within about 8 weeks.
Did I understand that you can detect both protein and nucleic acids and get a readout in such a short time?
Yes, sir, in a minute.
Has this been published?
Yes, there has been some publications on the base technology, and we can share those for those that are interested. And then, obviously we're moving forward with our research work, which we also intend to publish. And so there'll be additional publications that are coming.
And is it patent protected?
It is. We have exclusive license from the University of Minnesota where the technology was invented. And so we have access to those 3 patent families. There's another one that's in negotiations today. We actually have today 3 issued patents. 2 additional patents will issue this month. And then we have 7 others that are patent pending.
And I guess on the published works, is there a data that demonstrates level of sensitivity of this compared to traditional assays?
Yes, we have already gotten to picomolar sensitivity, and we expect the femtomolar will be achieving it in the next month or so. Obviously, that would be the level of detection that would be required for all the pathogens that we know about today.
Thank you.
So how much are you going to charge per test, and how much does it cost you to actually perform the test or come up with results?
Yes, so the average selling price would be $40. Our cost of goods in the first year of launch would be $12, but because of the amortization of intangibles, it drops down quite dramatically. So it's about $7 going down to $5.
I mean, it seems like your market is whatever you're charging times 100 million a year.
That's correct. That's correct. That's the $3.6 billion that I mentioned earlier. So it's a very, very large commercial opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're out of time. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, judges.
Thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity.
So now our final team for the mid-level division of the Walleye Tank is Blue Cube Bio, presented by Rui Lee. Rui, go ahead and share your screen and slides and turn on your mic and camera. Blue Cube Bio has also had recent success in Minnesota at the Minnesota Cup as grand prize winners, and that is no surprise considering the amazing work they are doing in cryopreservation at a time where the importance of sample integrity is at its highest. Your 2-minute timer will start once you start your presentation.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ray Lee, co-founder at Blue Cube Bio. We're a life science tool startup based in Minneapolis. We aim to transform the delivery of cell therapies by the power of non-toxic preservatives. This is a life-saving industry that's facing life-threatening challenges. Due to the absence of a safe and effective preservative, 90% of cell therapy providers do not have a sustainable supply chain, and the rest suffer a 50% loss in manufacturing. The future of medicine in cell therapy cannot arrive until we resolve this supply chain issue with proper preservation. And here's where Blue Cube Bio comes in. Inspired by how trees survive Minnesota winters, we have developed a line of non-toxic preservative products that greatly outperform our competitors. As a result, our customers will be able to double their revenue, and the 90% underserved industry can finally have access to a commercial preservative product that meets their needs. Blue Cube Bio is deeply rooted in our science and our knowledge of the market. Our invention is secured with a family of issued and pending patents. Our founders have been recognized by the cell therapy industry as the go-to people for all things preservation. We do fast and cheap R&D that continuously expand our product portfolio and amplify our revenue and market share. Our year one focus is on maintaining high-value customer relationships and getting regulatory approval for our products to be adopted into clinical trials. And then we'll hit our inflection point in 2022 to become an integral part of the booming cell therapy industry. Currently, we're seeking $224K in the first round of fundraising and seeking mentorship in technical biz dev. The time really is now. Join us to make the future of medicine a reality today. Thank you.
Thank you for the great presentation. And judges are invited to switch on their camera and mic.
So the biggest cryopreservation I see right now, honestly, is some of these RNA-based vaccines. Do you guys have a product that will allow pharmacies and the like to maintain their products at less than minus 80 degrees Celsius?
Thank you for that question. I would say the mRNA vaccine preservation is an adjacent market to cell preservation market that we are operating in. It is possible that we can expand our technology into that space, but currently we're targeting cell therapy manufacturing, and this market of preservation need is estimated around $175 million.
Do you have any thoughts on the efficacy of how this cell therapy would perform in different ethnicities?
Yes, that's a really good question. We are taking that into consideration in preservation technology itself. So we understand that current preservation technologies have a level of selectivity when it comes to how well they can preserve different cells. And our goal is to always strive for excellence and optimally preserve all the cells that are being put into patients and manufactured for patients. No selectivity, no I guess tempering or compromises of this therapeutic itself, and just present it for its fullest potency possible.
Can you speak a little bit about pricing competitiveness to everything else that's on the market at this point, please?
Thank you, Frank. So our pricing is about 5% higher than competitor products, but we have conducted over 200 customer interviews regarding the pricing as part of the conversation, and we realized that this fractional increase in pricing is very well justified by the increase in revenue and the reduction in wastage and cell loss that customers can get by becoming a BlueQ Bio customer.
Does your technology then essentially allow you to have off-the-shelf therapies that will last and can be distributed? Is that the idea?
Exactly. Yes, I can elaborate on that too. So preservation, when it's done right, it can, under cryogenic temperatures, things are pretty much lasting forever. So far, we have knowledge that cell therapy cryopreserved properly can last for decades for off-the-shelf use.
Thank you.
And now I'll invite Stefan.
Thanks, Jyoti. Thank you to all the presenters from the second session. We're starting to run a little bit long on time, but I'm going to ask Patty Post to come up here and give us a 1-minute update on where Checkable Medical has been since the Walleye Tank COVID-19 showcase earlier this year. Patty, if you can join me on stage quickly. She's been having some connectivity challenges, so hopefully she comes through.
Hi, Stefan. Hi, everyone.
Sounds good.
Am I coming? I'm good? All right. Nice to see you. Nice. Sorry for if there's any lag, my Wi-Fi is a little lagging today. But nice to see everyone. Checkable Medical has been extremely busy since May with COVID-19 and then with our strep test development with the overall goal of bringing diagnostics into the home so consumers can have easy accessibility to rapid diagnostics. Our COVID-19 rapid antibody test, we executed our first clinical trial successfully. Proud to share that we are submitting for the EUA for at-home approval. So one of these days in 2021, the goal is that you will be able to buy a rapid antibody test over IgG antibodies if you've gone.
Well, it seems like it's going to be one of those kinds of technology days for us. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Neela Malgard from Launch Minnesota to join me up on stage and take over the mic, lead us into the final session with our professional division. Each team here is going to have 4 minutes to present, where the previous 2 divisions have only had 2. Neela, the floor is yours. Let's take it away.
Thank you so much. And welcome everyone to the professional division of the Walleye Tank. I have the honor of introducing the next round of judges. If you want to turn on your cameras. First, we have Nnamdi Njuko, who is an expert in the commercialization of medical devices and is president of the Mechanical Circulatory Support Devices program at Medtronic. Second, we have Mary Grove, who is the founder and managing partner of Bread and Butter Ventures, a new early stage venture fund located in Minneapolis. Third, we have Jeff Ryerson, who is the Vice President of Clinical Strategy at mHealth Fairview and has a long history of growing medical device and diagnostic companies. Fourth, we have Julie Henry, the Director of Operations at Mayo Clinic Ventures, and collaborates across Mayo Clinic enterprise to protect and accelerate novel healthcare innovations. And last, we have Johnny Price, who is the Director of Fundraising at WeFunder, the newest way to fundraise. Johnny has a passion for supporting entrepreneurs and is helping to reshape the narrative around early stage investment. Thank you to the judges. During this next time, please make sure your mics and cameras are turned off. The first pitch in this category is NanoDropper. It's been good to see the growth of this company. When she first pitched at Walleye Tank, it was in the earlier stages, and now today in the professional category. I'd like to welcome Alyssa Song from NanoDropper to the stage. Go ahead and turn on your mic and camera and make sure to be ready to share your slides. And a reminder to Hugh that you're up next. Alyssa is a third-year medical student at Mayo Clinic, developed this technology while completing her undergrad degree, and the NanoDropper team was recently honored in Forbes 30 Under 30 and is also a Launch Minnesota Innovation Grantee awardee. Alyssa, you'll have 4 minutes whenever you are ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's nice to see you again. Please let me know when you can, if you cannot see my screen. Okay, perfect. Well, it's nice to meet you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Alyssa Song. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NanoDropper, where we have created the world's first eye drop bottle adapter that will save billions in medication waste, one drop at a time. So I started on this journey when I learned that current eye drops can be up to 5 times too big for the human eye. And when medications like those for glaucoma cost up to $500 per bottle, this was posing a significant financial barrier to care. And even with insurance, 25% of patients were chronically running out before insurance would cover the next refill, really being left without any other options. And not only are these drops wasteful, but they're actually causing patient harm with systemic side effects. In fact, clinical trials dating from back to the 80s have demonstrated that smaller eye drops are in fact safer and just as efficacious as the larger eye drops. So with this information, I reached out to my colleagues
and we decided that we could do better. Our solution is NanoDropper, an FDA-listed patented universal adapter that reduces the drops to something that your eye can absorb. Our novel design has been engineered to reduce the 40 microliter drops found on the market down to 10.2 microliters, extending the bottle 3 to 4-fold and saving an average of $2,500 per year per prescription. And in addition to this much needed savings, especially in these times, this means fewer visits to the pharmacy, reducing exposure risk to older adults, and alleviating that burden on the healthcare system. Now, we aren't the first people to try to solve this problem, but previous attempts relied on partnering with drug manufacturers, or they created devices that would only increase the price for the end users. So in the end, NanoDropper is the only viable solution as the first true adapter on the market. And we are delivering our solution to patients by partnering with their eye care professionals in the clinics, as well as payers of healthcare. Now, 2 years ago, I was here as part of the student showcase, and since then, we have had our utility patent that's been granted. We have received over 20 honors and awards. We have raised over $1.5 million in total funding, and we had our product launch this year in June in the middle of the pandemic. And we are so excited to be rapidly expanding all across the country to serve patients and their providers. We have bigger networks of clinics like Kaiser Permanente, but our biggest customer to date is the United States Air Force with a phase 2 contract with $600,000 in awards. Lastly, our Chief Scientific Officer is organizing clinical trials with institutions internationally to bring NanoDropper to every eye in need. To execute on our vision, we have our co-founding team with, of course, diverse backgrounds, but all with strong scientific foundations. And we were united by our mission to create a more just and equitable healthcare system. Our newest members of our team round out our marketing and sales needs. And of course, we would not be here without our expert advisors, bringing guidance as physician leaders and key opinion leaders, both in industry and in clinical medicine. And with their help, we're truly setting a precedent for value-based innovation in healthcare. And with that, I would like to invite you to join us in our journey to reduce cost, increase access, and promote eye health. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, incredible progress. Let's see what questions our judges have for you. So judges, go ahead and turn on your cameras and mics, and we'll have about 3 minutes for questions. Which judge would like to start?
What's NanoDrop?
So on average, we're right below the $8 mark. We have an MSRP of $15 and wholesale price of $11.25. That's about a 25% discount for our partner clinics.
Elisa, great presentation. Nice to meet you, and congratulations on so much progress, particularly in this crazy, difficult year. Very exciting. My question for you is, do you see it as a single use for one medication device, or is it a reusable product? And long-term, do you foresee potentially working with and disrupting the way that the packaging is done at the pharmaceutical level itself?
So other previous attempts to solve this problem of oversized drops have tried to make new packaging solutions. Unfortunately, it's a very long and expensive way because of how the regulatory steps are set up. If you package the medication yourself, you are essentially a combination device, and you would have to become, you have to go through the clinical trials of phase 1, phase 2, just like with any other drug. So you would have to enter the regulatory process for every medication and every indication that it's for. Your question about reusability and how it's intended to be used, we are a sterile medical device, and so you put the nano dropper on top of the bottle, you replace the cap with it, and it comes with its own pop-off cap, so you only install it once. And at the end of the bottle life, it can be taken apart and recycled or thrown away. But it's one bottle, one nano dropper.
Great presentation, Alyssa. I have a question. You mentioned about currently working with payers. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your current revenue streams and those relationships that you have right now with payers.
Yeah, so we are building our relationships with the payers. We are building out our budget impact model and to be able to enter into cost containment strategies as a cost containment service for the payers. And we really need that model built out and clinic adoption, which is why we're taking that B2B2C approach, not only because of the benefits that come with being able to partner with the eye care professionals and receive feedback and also help out those clinics when they use Nano Dropper for their in-clinic drops, but we're also collecting data to be able to show the long-term outcomes and therefore the total financial savings of reduced emergency department visits and not just the medication reduction in price.
Wonderful. Well, thank you to Nano Dropper and to our judges. That's it for the first presentation. Judges, you can turn off your cameras and mics, and we're going to introduce the next inspiring startup. So speaking of inspiring stories, I'm excited to welcome Kimberly Wilson to the stage, pitching on behalf of Hued. Go ahead and share your slides, turn on your camera and mic, Kimberly, and a reminder to Radware Technologies that you're up next. Kimberly and Hued are dedicated to bringing health quality and equality to communities all over the United States and strives to bridge the gap that specifically limits access to healthcare among Black and Latinx communities. Kimberly, you have 4 minutes. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so my name is Kimberly Wilson, and I am the founder and CEO of Hued. Hued is a healthcare engagement solution tailored to address the needs of Black and Latinx populations. I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids in 2017, and while common for women, for Black women specifically, up to 90% will develop them by the age of 50. And for many, they'll never experience any issues, but if you're like me, who had over 30 of them, they began to impact my other organs. Over a period of 6 months, I lived in New York City at the time. I visited 4 different white male providers who either dismissed my pain altogether or stated that a hysterectomy was my only option. And it wasn't until finding a Black physician in Baltimore, over 200 miles away from home, that I received the culturally competent care that I needed and deserved. And my story is just the same as countless others, though many are unequipped to be their own self-advocate. In fact, Black and Latino patients are 30 to 40% more likely to experience poor health outcomes than white Americans every year. And after being traumatized by my experience, I developed a solution that not only reduces the economic toll for payers, but also drastically improves health outcomes for people of color by reducing barriers that these communities face due to fear, distrust, comfortability, and lack of access to quality care. So Hued is initially tackling this problem by allowing patients to use our platform to search nearby Black and Latinx healthcare providers using our data-driven technology that matches patients' needs based on insurance provider, region, specialty, among ethnicity and language spoken. We also provide digitally accessible self-mastery tools, wellness workshops, and we connect patients to teletherapy. And with African Americans and Latinos accounting for 95 million people in the United States, the demographic is also the growing majority, making up 1 in 4 of the population. And this accounts for $950 billion in annual medical costs. So our business model is based off of 3 customer segments. The first is a subscription where providers pay a monthly cost to access Hued's patients, among other benefits. A certification program that trains physicians on cultural competency and confronts racial and ethnic disparities in patient care. And lastly, working with employer-sponsored programs to create behavioral changes in how patients seek care by providing motivation and rewards. And we just believe that our technology could be a coach to support lasting behavioral change within these communities. And we hope to disrupt the $385 billion digital health market. So we've already generated some traction through partners such as Unilever, which is actually our flagship partnership, among other partnerships with the National Medical Association and the National Hispanic Medical Association. Not to mention, we recently received non-dilutive funding from Google, from Facebook, and also most recently, Johnson & Johnson Innovation. In terms of numbers, so we currently have over 8,000 patients or users who engage with the platform, over 400 physicians who are on board and within our network and on the platform, and we're generating approximately $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. My background, I've spent over a decade understanding and advocating for the needs of people of color through leadership roles at the NAACP, Essence, Color of Change, Univision, and more. So I'm deeply committed to the work. Not to mention, I'm a former adjunct professor at NYU, Howard University, Iona College, and the College of New Rochelle in New York. But our founding team is also comprised of tech industry veterans, physicians, clinicians, and more. We're currently raising $1 million in Q1, closing in Q1 2021. And we would love to just talk with any of you who would be interested in helping us scale our business to the next level. And with that, I just thank you all so much for your time, and I welcome this opportunity for additional questions.
Thank you, Kimberly. It's great to see the gap that you are addressing. We're going to open the floor to the judges. So please go ahead and turn on your mics and cameras. And
Hi, Kimberly.
Any other questions?
I was just, thank you for the presentation. I was going to ask you to maybe speak to your awareness strategy. How are you going to break through the clutter of different types of potential platforms offering, maybe not exactly what you're offering, but a portion of it?
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. It's one that we actually get very often in thinking about value proposition, because we recognize that there are platforms such as Patient Fusion or ZocDoc that allow patients to be able to search based off of filters that you're mentioning. So insurance provider region. None of these platforms allow you to search based off of ethnicity or language spoken. And quite frankly, that is just one piece of how we're looking at our company. And we look at it as a three-tiered approach to decreasing disparities within the healthcare system. So the first is the algorithm matching tool that I mentioned that we currently use, and patients are currently engaged with it. But when we think about building any healthcare technology and we think about the social determinants of health, and the American Medical Association just released a new report talking about racism as a public health threat in thinking about social determinants of health. We recognize that, one, it's unrealistic to think that every patient of color in their lifetime will even be matched with every physician of color. So we're focused initially on that 13%. 6% of physicians identify as African American, 7% identify as Latino, Latinx. We're focused on the 87% because ultimately we're trying to create behavioral changes within the healthcare system. We know that unconscious bias and racism, it is systemic in why patients of color do not seek out care. So the next phase in our product roadmap of Feud is actually developing a curriculum and cultural competency certifications, which we've already started doing through our partnership with Unilever. I know we're coming up at time, so I want to dig deeper into what that partnership looks like. There was a study that came out last year that found that 47% of dermatologists said that if a Black patient came into their office, they would not know how to adequately treat their skin condition. That is problematic because African Americans have the highest mortality rates for melanoma, which is a form of skin cancer. And the reason for that is because it often goes misdiagnosed and undetected. And that's because in medical school, students learn that melanoma appears as a red rash on the skin, but textbooks only show white skin. There's a huge education issue that exists. And through our cultural competency and cultural sensitivity trainings, we have been working in partnership with Unilever on training physicians on skin health and skin problems on the different complexions and range of skin tones of patients of color. So doing that at scale, looking at ADHD, looking at the issue between the Latinx and immigrant community and why they don't seek out care because of fear in going to hospitals. So we're segmenting different specialties based off of this curriculum and these certifications, which is not what any of our competitors are also doing.
Thank you, Kimberly. Unfortunately, we're out of time for questions and answers. Judges, thank you. And Kimberly, thank you. And we're going to go on to the third team. Third team pitching in the professional division was also recently featured in the Minnesota Cup and has been a recipient of one of our Launch Minnesota Innovation Grants. I'd like to welcome Radwave Technologies, presented by Andrew Brown. Go ahead and turn on your slides, which you just did. Great, your camera and your mic. A reminder to Rian that you'll be up next. Radwave Technology is a groundbreaking electromagnetic tracking solution, proposes to revolutionize high precision robotic surgery. Remember that you'll have 4 minutes to present and the timer will start when you are ready. Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. Hello everyone, thanks for the opportunity. I'm Andrew Brown, co-founder, CEO of Radwave Technologies, based in St. Paul, Minnesota, within the UEL Life Science Incubator. Radwave is redefining electromagnetic tracking with our revolutionary patent-pending system for minimally invasive and robotic surgeries. Current tracking systems have accuracy problems that can lead to patient injury. We know the issues with the current technology and have invented the solution. There is a shift towards minimally invasive and robotic procedures since there are fewer complications, faster recovery, shorter hospital stays, and lower overall costs. Radwave accelerates this shift with accurate tracking of surgical instruments, even when there is no line of sight. So Radwave is supplying key components for the 31 billion image-guided and robotic surgery market. There are broad applications, but here is one specific example. There is a field generator below the patient. There's a surgical instrument with a tip on the end, and as it moves into the patient, the control unit brings medical images and that real-time information to show that instrument moving in real time. These are our first three products: the antenna, the sensor, and the control unit. So the current problem is there's an existing off-the-shelf solution. It's old, early 2000s. It has thick, bulky antennas, limited navigation volume, poor interference, and loss of accuracy when there is interference. Or you can build your own. It takes tens of millions of dollars and multiple years to complete. And the primary problem with these two options is they both have inaccurate navigation when there are metal interference, and they both have small sensing volumes, which forces them to use harmful radiation images to navigate outside of that volume. So our solution is a customizable tracking platform that is accurate, modular, and works in any setting. There are two primary advantages. First, the system has accurate sensor location when there is interference in the field. Current systems can have centimeters of error where we are in the single millimeter range. Second, our system provides a navigation for the entire patient volume. And again, current systems are limited to just 20 or 30 centimeters cubed. This is a platform that's available now, and there will be a series of products that leverage this platform in the future. So the founding team has decades of experience creating medical devices with over 60 patents. We are experts in this domain with multiple systems on the market today. We have created dozens of other products during our careers that have diagnosed and treated millions of people around the world. So the medical device segment is our beachhead, and we are selling to R&D leads at medical device companies. We estimate a 700 million serviceable available market based on the number of medical procedures that are currently use image-guided tracking technology like Radwave. We plan to expand to other verticals that have a combined opportunity of greater than 2 billion. So Radwave is grounded with a strong scalable business model. Our platform is integrated into customer medical devices, which generate service revenue. Each time our customers put their system in a hospital, we sell capital. Each time physicians perform a procedure, we generate revenue from consumables. So we are making rapid progress with our first sales. We started pre-selling in July, and they're now delivering in November. Since the Minnesota Cup, We've gone from 0 to 400,000 ARR and will cross the 1 to 1.5 million annual run rate in January. We are actively raising capital for the Q1, Q2 timeframe to scale up manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and please contact me if you'd like additional information. Our full market release will be this summer. So in conclusion, we are fast growing existing markets. We have a unique product that solves unmet needs, a scalable business model, and an experienced team with a shared history. So thank you very much. Contact information is on the slide, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Andrew, and congratulations on your tremendous progress. I'll ask the judges to turn on their cameras and microphones, and you'll have 3 minutes to answer some of their questions.
Andrew, thanks for presentation. One question I had was, how do you avoid, particularly when you sell to a hospital system, of not avoiding the hurdle of another capital and OR? Are you thinking about partnerships and other technology integration opportunities to, leverage your technology across other platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. And so RadWave is a business-to-business company, so we will sell to medical device firms that have new and existing products. And so we will sell into their product, they will sell into the hospital.
Okay.
And so we're targeting 510(k) type procedures to start with so that we can move very quickly into the commercialization phase.
Got it. Thank you.
Andrew,
Are
great.
there certain Go ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry, Julie. Sorry to cut you off. Great presentation, Andrew. I was going to ask about, congrats on scaling to the 400K in ARR so quickly. What has the current sales cycle looked like to get to that point in terms of duration and key learnings? And what's the early feedback on how big of a hurdle, if it is a hurdle, the switching costs are for these locations?
Right. So the sales cycle has been fast, and so it just became available in November, and we're selling out of our first manufacturing run nearly immediately. So the product is selling itself. We have a fun iPhone test where we put a metal object near the sensors, and our system stays stable, and the competitors will move in the order of centimeters. And so it goes very quickly after we show that. And so right now we're selling into R&D groups so they can integrate it into their technology. And so this is going very fast, faster than we can manufacture. And then they will complete development, do verification, submit, and commercialize later in 2021 and into 2022.
My question was going to be on the integration. Is that something that you folks are having to do, the modifications, and work with each vendor to make a separate product to do those integrations, or is it universal to all of those different devices?
Very good question. And so what we did to start off with earlier this year was a series of voice of customer sessions. So we identified our first customer set and made sure that our first product that I showed on the screen will work for them out of the box. And so we're expecting to use that in the beginning. And then as other companies are coming and asking us for this technology, it may need to be shrunk for a single sensor procedure, or grown when there are many sensors required. And so we anticipate a product line of some number that we'll support and manufacture as time goes by. But in the beginning, we're focusing on our first offering.
Thank you, judges, for your great questions, and Andrew for the strong presentation. I now have the privilege of introducing our final pitch for today. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Atta Bahar on behalf of RIAN, a fast-growing health tech and therapeutics company based in Rochester, Minnesota. Go ahead and share your slides. RIAN's regenerative exome technology has produced significant advances among a broad range of medical applications, and I understand they are moving into clinical phases of their development. Dr. Bahar, you'll have 4 minutes to present. Please proceed when you are ready. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to be with all of you here today. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Atta Bafar. I'm a co-founder of Rion. I'm a transplant heart doctor at the Mayo Clinic and a regenerative scientist. Rion is a biotechnology company that innovates in nanobiologics that are targeting the body's innate ability to accelerate healing. We are a clinical phase company. We have an active clinical trial and actually are slated to start 2 additional trials in the next few months. We're piloting exosome-based therapy really to address critical unmet needs that our patients suffer from. The science of Rion is based on 2 decades of R&D in regenerative medicine, but by both myself and my co-founder, Dr. Andre Terzic at Mayo, where we discovered that exosomes, not stem cells, are really the key drivers of tissue regeneration in patients. Based on those initial discoveries, we were actually able to identify the key phenotypes that associate with exosomes that drive regenerative events in the body. And we have created a fully off-the-shelf, room temperature stable technology that we call a purified exosome product, or PEP, that really offers the first ever regenerative medicine opportunity to treat any patient in any location at any time. At Mayo, we created a broad patent portfolio for this, for covering biomanufacturing, composition of matter, and applications. And this technology was then exclusively licensed to Rion for use. Rion secured $10 million in its Series A and developed this R&D product to a fully clinical grade product, and has gone through the FDA process to secure several INDs for clinical trial testing. Right now, we're in the midst of our Series B round to raise the capital to execute. A little bit about the PEP technology. Our platform allows us to manufacture with yields that are in the quadrillions and pentillions of exosomes derived, which are over 1,000-fold greater than any other technology out there. We have defined the exosome mode of action, which is promotion of cell growth, formation of new blood vessels, reduction of inflammation, and oxidizing, scavenging molecules, which essentially promote cell survival. We have targeted applications in wound healing and soft tissue repair, targeted delivery to protect the heart in the setting of heart attack, and we have a broad array of women's health and musculoskeletal applications. Right now, we have an active wound healing trial. We're about to launch our acute myocardial infarction trial, and behind that will be our women's health applications. We have an EUA that will likely go out later this month for COVID. And we do have additional trials in orthopedics and in soft tissue healing, such as fistulizing disease, moving forward. Our next milestones are to finalize our Series B. We have closed on the initial Series B round, but are continuing to raise more. We're going to establish the safety and efficacy of this technology in human trials. We have strategic partnerships that we're going to pursue based on the outcomes of those trials. We're establishing a biomanufacturing facility in Rochester, Minnesota, as we grow the Rion team. Thank you guys very much for your attention. The contact information is here if you're interested in reaching out to us.
Thank you, Dr. Bafar. These are very exciting developments. I'll open the floor now to our judges. Please go ahead and turn on your cameras and mics. And you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's super exciting. What a great way to I'm curious about how you think about market size. I'm sure it's a very big number, but yeah, curious on how you're thinking about that.
Absolutely. So I think this is a platform technology. In other words, the basis of the platform allows us to go into several different market spaces. Believe it or not, the women's health market is the largest. Stress urinary incontinence is the #1 medical problem globally. Really, any woman that has had one or more pregnancies suffers from some degree of stress urinary incontinence. 300,000 new patients annually in the United States alone. Myocardial infarction speaks for itself. It obviously is a very broad-based market, and a big unmet need has been finding effective solutions for wound healing. Soft tissue healing overall, but wound healing very specifically. And so we picked those 3 areas as the initial targets for RIA.
Dr. Bafar, great presentation. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about your commercial strategy as you think about either partners or initial markets that you would go to.
Absolutely. So, so initially what we will do is we will execute these phase 1b/2a trials, create safety and efficacy data. We're designing them so that we actually get power calculation numbers out of these trials. Based on that, we have 2 opportunities. One is indeed partnership opportunities, where we get into co-development deals or licensing with big pharma and move those forward. Alternatively, because this is a platform technology, we can actually create verticals out of Rion, where we then take a focused clinical endeavor, build up a management team with significant expertise in that market space to then not only execute on the late phase trials, but do the marketing and reimbursement in that. Given that piece of information, I will highlight for you that we are actually engaged in several of these types of vertical conversations already for additional opportunities based on our technology.
Just a quick question on what kind of adverse events do you have or expect from a product like this?
So fortunately, this is a product that you have in your body, and this is the thing that helps you heal wounds right now. So if you cut yourself, this is the exosome that will drive healing. So as a naturally occurring technology, risk of adverse events is low. Nonetheless, we do all of those toxicity studies for the FDA.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Bafar. And to the judges, please go ahead and turn off your cameras and mics. And with that, we've completed the pitches of the professional division. Thank you all for participating. I'm sure the judges will have a very hard time choosing this year's finalists or winners. Finally, I'll ask Stefan to join me back on the stage to continue the agenda for today. And Stefan, turn on your camera and mics. Thank you.
Thank you, Neela. Thank you to all of the professional division pitching teams who participated today. We have one more very short update from our COVID teams who presented earlier on in April at the COVID-19 Showcase. Let's hear from Ability for All and see what they've been up to over this past year. John, go ahead and join me on stage. There we go. We'll give you a minute. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Hey, congrats, everybody. All the startups today, you guys are so exciting to see that entrepreneurism is not waning during these trying times of COVID. I'm John Doan, co-founder and CEO of Mobility for All. We're the personalized ride service for seniors. Needless to say, it's been a tough summer and fall for our customers who are primarily older adults. But we see light at the end of the tunnel. With vaccinations coming, we are expecting a large and significant rebound in our demand. And to prepare for that, we have been fortunate to raise approximately a little over $500,000 over the last 6 months to help sustain us through COVID, but also to prep us for that jump forward in 2021, where we will be expanding to the Rochester and Winona area. So we're super excited to be expanding our growth to southeastern Minnesota, and in part that is being funded by a DEED launch grant. So thank you very much to DEED. We've also been very fortunate to receive a Department of Human Services grant that will help to subsidize rides for low-income seniors in the Rochester and Winona area. My ask for this audience is, one, to continue the good fight through this pandemic and to make it to the other side. And then also, as we expand to Rochester, we would love to connect with all of the folks who work in the senior communities, senior living centers, senior centers, to provide our service to you, as well as we're looking for drivers in the Rochester, Winona area. So if you know any drivers or good candidates for drivers, please let us know. I can be reached at john@mobilityforall.com. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, John. You can go ahead and turn off your camera and mic. And for everybody in the audience, that brings us to the end of our formal agenda. It's great to see the progress you guys have made over the last year, and we are super excited to continue to support the greater Minnesota startup ecosystem. We're going to be returning to the floor now for the next 15 to 20 minutes to let the judges deliberate and select a single winner from each of the 3 divisions. So judges, when we break to the floor, please proceed to the 4th floor and your respective walleye deliberating votes. To all the attendees, please try to stay off of the 4th floor. Otherwise, we'll be forced to call security perhaps and try to get you ushered down to one of the other floors for networking. Please take advantage of the networking opportunities. Some of the tables are listed throughout the environment to give you a good sense of where you can find people to continue these great conversations that we've had. Good luck to all the teams who pitched today. We'll see you guys soon to announce the winners.